Folks, people have been wondering for a long time. There are a lot of great philosophers out there who've been wondering what would happen if you put a billion Albanians into London. Now, this question has come to the forefront of the world's wonder recently because my friend Lemon Cake over at Lemon Cake channel, he put a billion Albanians into EU5's London area. And it had some interesting consequences for sure. I did enjoy that video. However, Victoria 3 is kind of like a different type of beast compared to EU5. So we have to ask, in a world where there are only like 300 million maybe total people in the whole world, what if you just drop a billion Albanians into London? And I don't even know. I have only just quickly launched the game to test if the mod I made even works. But now we're going to actually try and see how the game goes. My immediate thought is that London, or rather Britain, is one of the nations in the game which starts off with a welfare law. And I can only imagine how that's going to affect them. See the population here, 1.02 billion? That's a lot of unemployed. 300 million. Oh geez. Well, let's get into that. Okay, so we get into the game, we immediately see no bureaucracy. And this is probably because London itself, the home counties, and its 1 billion people. Yeah, it feels like something to see 1 billion here. I did make them Sunni, even though in Lemon's video he made them Orthodox. This is because, of course, at this point in history, the Albanians are mostly Muslim. So I'm just reflecting the current history. But yeah, destitute standard of living. I mean, there's not a lot of food to go around, I guess, right? We can just look at the market here. And it looks like the price of grain has indeed completely skyrocketed. There are 209,000 units of demand and 12,000 on the market. So I hope that the farmers get working, I guess. It seems like they also consuming like coal and stuff. So remember, the Albanians do need to stay warm. So they are going to be consuming coal, which means that the steel mills of this place are not going to work out very well. In fact, everything's probably going to kind of fall apart for them because they're going to consume they consume hardwood? No, okay, that's just a shortage in general. They consume fruit. I guess coal is kind of the only real industrial good they are consuming, so it's not that bad. I guess alongside lumber as well for warmth. They also got to fulfill that need. And then fabric for their like shoddy ass clothes or whatever. I'm also now noticing the minus 3 million deficit, and I believe this is going to be the welfare spending, if you look here. Yeah, so Psycho's on the mouse. So 3 million in welfare payments, which is going to be because, of course, we do have poor laws starting as Britain. Now, other nations, funnily enough, any other nation wouldn't be that heavily affected by having a billion Albanians in their country. It would ruin their market, it would ruin the bureaucracy, but it wouldn't be that bad. In Britain's case, though, because they have welfare, these Albanians are taking a whole lot of money. In fact, I kind of want to check one of the groups here. So we do have the mega pop, the 1 billion sized pop with one wealth here. If you look at their economy, they're raking in 8 million on dependent wages, and they're paying out 17 million in their needs. So they're not doing very well. They're going to be losing a lot of population very quickly. Minus 12% with not a single birth. Ain't nobody having any kids. Okay. Wow, that's something. They're also going to be converting to presumably like Protestantism, which will see them I guess split into a new pop group. But I'm sure they'll be fine. They have severe starvation. Now, I don't intend to actually play as Britain here because that'd be a fool's errand. I'm instead probably going to go into observer mode and just keep an eye on the world and see how it's going. So we're here in observer mode. We're going to start off on speed 4 for a second. I want to just see what happens here with the migration, because there probably aren't very many Albanian cultural communities around, but it looks like they have created some, because they are migrating, although maybe the English are the ones migrating. So with the way that cultural communities work, we have to basically pray that Albanian communities spawn somewhere in the English market so that the pops can leave London. Because if they spread out more, it would mean they could get jobs as peasants, because if you look at our arable land here, you only have 100,000 peasants here, and although a peasant job is not much of a job, it's certainly better than just starving in London. So, if they get lucky, they'll move out to the Midlands or something, which has, I think, probably some available arable land. No, they don't either. Okay, Britain is full. Okay, well, there's some over here in Yorkshire. Basically, the point is that if they spread out more, it'll be better for them. Hopefully, they would go to India. There's probably, there's a lot of people here too. They probably have arable land, maybe. Yeah, they got some slots open over here, but I mean, this is like chump change compared to how big the pop group is. 1 billion people, and they only have 500,000 in those places. So let's see, how many people have left? So we have some people migrating out. The Albanians are presumably passing away en masse. They're also probably converting, though, so we're going to see a lot of Protestants kind of appear here. If we look at Britain, their SWL is going to permanently be like 1.1, basically. Their GDP is probably not going to grow, actually. I mean, the prices are all going to be really high, so they'll gain GDP off that, but then their industries are going to all stop making stuff, because if you look at the profitability on something like a steel mill right now, which I think they have some out here maybe, somewhere, yeah, it's going to be like no profitability, because coal is going to be way too expensive, so this is all just going to like die. Same with textiles, because again, all the cotton's going to be too expensive, the fabric rather. It does mean that Britain will be a great market to export to. So America's cotton could find its way over into Britain for a very good price. We could even take a look at that maybe. We do see, yeah, so we do in fact see fabric, if we look at the world market, huge imports on Britain, 2,800 units heading into Britain, presumably mostly from the Americans, 1,700 of it coming from the Americans. Makes a lot of sense, yeah. So great for the American economy. When Britain is struggling, America does great, I guess, right? By the way, if you hear any noises in the background, my cat is like eating food, and her collar will bang against the bowl while she eats, so just, you know, don't be alarmed if you hear background noise. So we've lost about 100 million Albanians, presumably to starvation. It's every year they're losing another 119 million. I guess what's going to happen here is eventually, like, they will Thanos themselves and everything will be balanced, perfectly equal or something. I'm going to go to speed 5 and try to get some time to pass a little faster here. They're gaining fervor. Low literacy, so not very quickly, but they're gaining some fervor. I think maybe eventually we'll see some mass migrations. Because of all the groups to want to mass migrate, they're going to want to mass migrate really badly. Because the migration traction here is probably insanely low. It doesn't even display a number, it's 0. I don't think I've ever actually seen 0.0 migration attraction. This means that these guys will want to go literally anywhere. The problem is they can't because there's nowhere with a cultural community. Very unfortunate. I imagine Britain by now has bankrupted, by the way. That would be correct. They have declared bankruptcy. This will likely mean that India will break free at some point. We won't see a Hong Kong, nearly certain of that. And I guess the Ottomans will be weaker because Britain usually supports the Ottomans in their fights against Egypt and Russia. So we'll probably see a weaker Ottomans this game. Oh, Quebec has gone free. Okay, the first casualty of the British Empire's economic collapse, thanks to the Albanian menace, is Quebec. They've gone free under Robert Nelson, an Anglo-Canadian. I mean, okay. Interesting. They're radicals, I guess. That's cool. I guess they just really wanted a republic. I mean, it's fair enough. Oh, and there's a revolt. Hold on a minute. Here's the British proletarian revolt. They've risen up, folks. Proletarian, but still a monarchy. They just have cooperative ownership. This is really funny when this happens. Normally you can't get cooperative ownership unless you are a council republic, but revolts don't follow the rules. So council republic, or rather monarchy with cooperative ownership, is kind of crazy. They also have anti-strike laws, but I think Britain already had that. That's correct. Okay. So obviously this revolt wins, like with no worry whatsoever. But how will this affect the Albanian population? That's the real question. Because they might get some devastation down here and cause even more death. we are down to 679 million Albanians. I mean, we've lost a lot here. A lot of them have met their fate at the hands of starvation, despite the dole. That's what they call it in Britain, right? When they give welfare, they call it the dole. They always have to have weird words for things in Britain. I've learned that. So the war is over. Britain is now woke, I guess. 96% trade union clout under Emperor James Fitzjames. Very creative name. He is Scottish, so I guess he's going for that James VI type vibe with the, James, son of James. Because Fitz, for those that don't know, is the Norman version of fille in French, which means son. So it's James, son of James, is what you see here. Very cool. He has an heir, Robert Fitzjames. Makes sense. They are Yorkshire natives, I guess, despite being Scottish. So, I guess that can happen, right? There must be some Scottish folks. Maybe by Yorkshire they mean like up here in Bebbanburg. Uhtred, son, some of this reference to that one TV show with Uhtred of Bebbanburg. You guys know what I'm talking about? Oh, we see a radical revolt in the Hudson's Bay Company. The company members, they want democracy. They do seem to want universal suffrage as opposed to the autocracy of the current government. And again, I don't think the British can possibly fight because they're just going to be bankrupting nearly constantly. Have they shrunk their navy, I wonder? Like, are they trying to address... So they had like over 100 ships before, and they're slowly shrinking their navy down. Presumably the AI is like desperately to fix its budget. So it's doing whatever it can by deleting its ships, but that's not exactly going to help. What they need to do is get rid of their welfare, and that is probably not going to happen. So, yeah, especially now that they have 90% trade union clout or whatever. We have lost like half the Albanians we began with, which this is still a staggering number of people, by the way, but it's amazing how quickly they're dying. Imagine the work you'd have to do as the town gravedigger or whatever, when within the past 4 years, it's been 4 years in game, 500 million people have passed away. Like, this London itself is probably more corpses than it is anything else at this moment. India's gone free. Just noticed that right now. I don't know when it happened, but India has gone free. It's to be expected. Britain can't possibly maintain them when they're bankrupt. South Africa's gone free. Yeah, they're all going to break free, I think. Looks like although Australia's still here, but they're having a revolt and they'll probably get occupied. Rupert's Land. Dude, this is rare Canadian lore, though, is to know that Rupert's Land is what the name of this land was before it was company-owned. So when the Hudson's Bay Company region, like the whole Canadian Shield type of area, was being colonized in like the early days of EU4 and EU5 and stuff, this was Rupert's Land. And then the Hudson's Bay Company was given like a charter to purchase Rupert's Land, and that's how you create the Hudson's Bay Company. I don't know who Rupert is, just to be clear. Also, we'll talk about this in a second. I don't know who Rupert is exactly, but that's his land, okay? Moving on over to the next British proletarian revolt. We have a new emperor, Frederick Burdnell Bruce. This one's English. I guess they couldn't stand a Scottish king. I can respect that. He's got an heir. This is the Edward Burdnell Bruce, okay? I imagine once again that this London has gone completely bankrupt, yes. So they're going to be taken over by another proletarian revolt. This one has pretty much the same laws that I can tell. I don't see anything that went different. I could just be being dumb, though. So yeah, rip more Albanians. There you go. There you go. Another swap in power here. We do have Chancellor Gilles Lavallée. Lavallée, interesting, having the feminine last name. If you know French, you know. Feminine last name. I don't know if that's common or not. Someone tell me, but that's a little weird if you ask me. So we have New South Wales, which is under John Plunkett. Don't know who that is. An Irish guy, a reformer. Okay, let me know, Australians, who that is. They've also declared bankruptcy. There's gonna be a lot of bankruptcy happening in this world, I think. We do also have like Western Australia, I believe that is. Yep, which is ruled by Shane Davis. Not historical, but that's okay. So we've almost run out of Albanians here. It's a bit anticlimactic how quickly they're passing away, but I mean, what can you expect? I guess they're all just starving. I wonder if we check again the list of where they've gone. Have there been any mass migrations? Any movement into anywhere? Looks like not really, not particularly. It all just they have not mass migrated anywhere. So we just have them chilling here in London. So it's a little bit different than the lemon cake video, I must say, simply because they have nowhere to go. Cultural communities are a weird system, man. Obviously, in real life, these guys would all be flooding out, but they can't go unless they have a cultural community, so they're just stuck here. I guess it's because right now, nowhere in Britain has good migration attraction, so they're not going to be making any good migration moves. To be clear, Canada would be good. So you see here, they have high migration attraction, but getting a cultural community is just random. So the chance of getting it is literally just like, good luck, There's no way to make it happen or anything like that. Columbia District, it would also be a good spot, although isolated, no port, buddy? Yeah, no ports. I don't know what happened to their ports. Maybe they're trying to save budget, they got rid of them. So actually, nobody can migrate here. Do they still have ports in London? Oh, and there's another revolt, by the way. They do still have ports here, so people can leave at least. Peasant revolts now. This is under Walter Fitzclarence. A lot of emperors these days. They've been coming out with a lot of emperors. They do want to get peasant proprietorship, which makes sense. That's a peasant revolt for you. I do wonder, they will eventually get, separatism, right? Yeah, so the Irish uprising is here, although it's a very small Irish uprising. So they will eventually kind of see the nation fracture, but I don't know, it might take a long time, to be honest. I can't even imagine the number of corpses, the number of graves that must be dug here. There you go, New Great Britain, and a free Ireland, look at this. A little bit small, but the capital's in Galway. Who rules this island here? This is King Murroch Talbot. Is that how you pronounce that name? Murroch? I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce Gaelic things very well at all. Potato famine relief. How wonderful. How wonderful. What I'm interested in is what are the wages like out here? So the wages are based on standard living for the most part, right? So if you look here at these peasants, they're making half a pound per like year or whatever. The base wage is 1.98. Wow, that's low. Yeah, so the base wage is like the wage that is used to calculate all the other wages in all the buildings in the state. So you see here, the base wage 1.45. God, that's low. And of course, it makes sense because SOL is so low, but it's kind of crazy to see that. Even though it's to be expected, it's still crazy. I do like how they're all part of the trade unions. They're like, they blame capitalism for why they're starving right now. They are also assimilating, oh my goodness. So they're gonna become English to some extent. But yeah, it's, oh, another liberal revolt. Wait a minute, we're bringing capitalism back? No. We're getting voting. We're going to give the Albanians the right to vote. I see. Because they had wealth vote, and now they were too poor to vote. But now, although I say that, census suffrage comes with 10 wealth threshold, so actually the Albanians will not be voting. This is not universal suffrage. Not quite. So they will not be voting. They will instead simply be, I don't know, thinking they could vote, but they're too poor to go to the polling station. Is there a British word for a place where you vote? There must be, right? They must have some kind of strange word for that. The Liberals have won, it looks like. They've also created the Council of Nations. Let's take a look at that. So the British Empire is gone. Down with the British Empire. Long live the Council of Nations, a new sovereign empire. That makes sense, I guess. The Russian Empire, we can look at the rest of the map, I guess, right? The Russian Empire has gone to the Netherlands, so they're making some moves down there. Bengal has created the United Front, a military treaty. So in the wake of the British Empire's collapse, we see the Glorious Union. Yeah, okay. This does kind of make sense. I mean, the Americans would probably swoop in were the entirety of Canada to collapse like this. So Quebec, Rupert's Land, and America together form the Glorious Union. Beyond that, I think France has got a power block, the Joint Front, an ideological union, and we also, of course, have the Metternich system. The Devleti Aliyah is, falling apart as it normally does. So we do have a free Bulgaria under Boris Shivachev. Okay. Yeah, that's a thing, I guess. If we notice as well that there's been mortality across the entire empire. So if we look at the British population graph, we look here. We don't get historical data. Okay, well, trust me, the graph is going down rapidly, okay? Not just because they had 1 billion people, that's one reason why, but also because in other parts of Britain, due to the scarcity of food, because the Albanians are eating all of it, you are going to be seeing population going down across the board. I don't think the Midlands has only 600,000 people in it on game start. That's all I'm going to say, okay? I think that there were probably a bit more there before. And I'm going to check again. Do we have any cultural communities anywhere yet? Has that happened yet? I don't think so, man. I think they're not leaving. I don't really know what would need to happen to make it so they would mass migrate more. Unless, wait, does Britain have migration controls? Is that why? Oh shit. Does that affect mass migrations? I don't know if you can mass migrate out if you have migration controls. That could be what's causing it, is that they're too low in tolerance to be allowed to migrate out. So they're just like, they're penned in, they're clamoring to go back to the Balkans or to go to Canada or to go anywhere. But the British police, they refuse to let them leave. Now the ones that are Protestant, actually no, that wouldn't affect it, because when you look at restrictiveness on migration, it does not take into account the actual acceptance of a pop. It takes into account their cultural acceptance. So you see they're going to have 55, or rather just 50. Yeah, sorry, 45. 50 from sharing heritage group, -5, no language trait, 45. We ignore the state religion modifier. So they're going to have 45, which is not enough to be able to migrate. That would be why. Okay. They're being forced to stay. Cultural exclusion, though, this should let them migrate out. Now, this is big. If this liberal revolt wins, which we know it will, and it doesn't get destroyed by another revolt later, we should see the Albanians be able to migrate out now that they have cultural exclusion. Let's keep an eye on this. Oh, we see it. Oh, I saw minus 23k for a second there. Hold on. That was kind of sus. Minus 40k? Okay, wait, hold on. Oh, I can't move my mouse because Psycho is stepping on it right now. I'm very sorry. Let's see the mass migration map mode. It's amazing to me that Britain is still getting mass migrations. Like, that's... I mean, 9.4... they have, like, 9.4 mass migration traction across the board, which is very low. Welsh people migrating out. So the Albanians are like, we're not leaving. They're like, we're here to stay. They refuse to leave. Everyone else is leaving, but not the Albanians. We're nearly at the 100 million population mark here. Still a staggering number of pops, by the way. I had a video ages ago where I put 100 million people into New York, and that was like impressive. 100 million people is a lot, to be clear. It would be very interesting to drop in as the United States and try to like, so the AI is not always that good about getting mass migration attraction. It would be fun to drop in as the US and just try to get the Albanians to come over. You know, that would be interesting, but then I'd have to like play the game. Like imagine doing that, right? I'm here to make easy content, not to make interesting content. You know, Albanians are interesting for me as a linguistics student because they speak a language that is quite unique. And there's a lot of debate about exactly where it comes from. So if you look at the Albanian language here, they just have like language Albanian, Albanic, like there's no relationship to anything around it, right? Like I'm not gonna act like I know a ton about like the language itself, but some people say it might be a descendant of like the ancient Illyrian language, like the one that was spoken by the Illyrian people that were here before the Roman and Greek like migrations and stuff. Possible. I don't know though. I'd have to look more into it, but it's very unique and doesn't really like anything around it, which is cool. Also, reactionary revolt. Yeah, no more migration. The Albanians, they had a chance to escape. They will not be given that chance again. They are going to now be stuck in Britain as the reactionaries have risen up. They do not want cultural acceptance. They want to make the lives for the Albanians even worse. I should check the market, actually. Are they starting... Okay, the grain issue seems to have been solved. Although this is... Right, this is only because... Like, this is a smaller version of the market. Although I guess, like, are they just not buying anything out here? Is that what's happening? Are you buying any goods? And they're buying, like... yeah, they are still buying goods. I mean, geez, okay. Let's check the market now that it's reunited. It was weird because it was not united. Yeah, okay, the price is still super high. Okay. Yeah, because even at one wealth level, a pop can never buy nothing. Pops always buy something, right? So they're always going to be buying a little bit of stuff. They do have American cotton. I mean, yeah, we can check again. The cotton trade must be extremely lucrative. Okay, must be extremely lucrative. I say that they're literally not exporting out of New York. What? Excuse me. Where's all that cotton coming from? Then I guess we can check the world market real quick. Yeah, so we see here 2,000 imports for Britain, almost 4,000 exports for America. In terms of how this will affect like the game. America should have a pretty crazy investment pool. The AI is not always good about using the investment pool, though, so I don't know if they're going to be making much advantage of that. But their GDP is quite good. This is mostly only because Britain isn't there to be on top, though. There's no EIC, no Britain. So this is about where America normally would be, I think. But they get to be number 3 now because Britain is out of the game, effectively. Speaking of which, Britain's at 3 million GDP. And we don't get a very good graph because every time they have a revolt, they get a reset on the history graph. But they were at like 30 million to begin the game. So... It's not looking good, man. It's not looking good. SOL has risen, though. Ignore this graph. This is from when they were revolt. But remember it was like 1.0 in 1836? Well, now it's 1.4. We just watched it tick in real time and back down. Okay, I spoke too soon. It's wavering at 1.3 to 1.4. 7 ships, by the way. The British Navy has been scuttled for economic reasons. We are seeing migrations to America. Not from Albanians, though. Just Englishmen. Yeah, I believe because of migration restrictions, they cannot actually migrate out, which is a bit of a shame. It might have been a better move to drop the Albanians in, like, New York, so they could, like, spread throughout the world, but at the same time, it is kind of funny that they're just, like, chilling in here and doing nothing. So I think at this point, we're going to wait until there's, like, a reasonable number of people left here. They are still dying very quickly. Eventually, they will, like, pass away, and then Britain will have a more normal economy. Like, there's 20,000 grain being consumed here. Once it's actually, like, a reasonable amount of grain, they could begin to recover, and then I would be very curious how they would do. It does boggle my mind that we have, like, Wallonians and Franco-Provençal people, like, taking over because all the English people are dying, and they're coming here even though it's, like, a destitute as hell life. It's very funny. I'm going to assume the Chinese are probably doing pretty well because they haven't been, like, opium to all hell. So if you look at their GDP, it's a solid, just... upwards graph. Have they been able to get off serfdom? No. The AI is not very good about using negotiations to potentially fix their country. So China, like, being stuck at serfdom is kind of to be expected, even though right now they have all the tools they would need to get off of it. We do see a radical revolt. Universal suffrage. Okay, now the Albanians will actually be able to vote. This is actual voting for Albanians. And Parliamentary Republic. We are getting rid of the monarchy. Finally. No more monarchs. No more kings. The current king is George. Yeah, this is George Brudenell Bruce, who we saw earlier, I think. Or maybe this is a new Brudenell Bruce, because they did have a revolt. I don't know. But he's going to be dethroned. He's going to be guillotined by James Williams Wynne. Alright. And this guy, he's promising the Albanians, he's promising them the right to vote. And we'll see how that affects everything here. They will never get off poor laws, though. I can't think of a single movement that would want to eradicate poor laws, because the industrialists would want to... Actually, the industrialists, they want this. Now I think about it, they're like the ones that want this. The only thing I can think of is if you were to have a trade union type revolt, but they would just put it to like old age pension. They would just make it even worse. They wouldn't. They would probably not go to no social security from poor laws. We do not have the Republic. Oh no, never mind. The Republic somehow lost. I don't know how that happened, but I guess revolts can be weird sometimes, where they think they go bankrupt very easily and then they capitulate. I thought they would have won for sure, but I guess actually the Republic failed. The Albanians are very attached to their monarch. They rose up, they fought to preserve the monarchy. I understand. We do see Prussia forming Germany, it looks like, in relatively fast pace. I mean, this is pretty much like normal pace, I guess. It's very lucky for them because it looks like France is having a rebellion at the same time, so they're going to have an easy time, I believe anyway, fighting off all these tiny little German miners. Also, new revolt just dropped. This time, it's another reactionary revolt. I guess it makes sense. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. The reactionaries do include the home counties. So the Albanians, I guess, are fighting to destroy their own rights. It just works. To be fair, though, both of them have national supremacy, so it's not like actually they're going to lose or gain any rights. Instead, they must be revolting against the new taxation law. See, the Albanians, they cannot stand to have their dividends be taxed. We can't be having that, okay? Can't be having that. Our German Federation's here, by the way. They, I guess they failed to unite with Bavaria somehow, so they're not Germany, but, it is what it is. We do have a free Oregon and a free Ontario. I think I noticed these broke free earlier, but didn't say anything, but free Oregon under Simon Barrington, and free Ontario under Heinrich Thiessen. Okay. Very cool. They're all in the American power block, I assume. Not quite Oregon yet, but America has definitely swooped in here. It's just an economic league, so I mean, they're not going to subjugate them, they're just going to share a market, I suppose, which I guess benefits all of them very well. We do have a new emperor. This is Edmund Bridges. He is a magnate too, by the way. We can see what stuff he owns. He owns a bunch of opium. I see. Okay, a bunch of opium in India. That's his business of choice. So we have like an opium dealer king who rules over like the nation. Using these manor houses. That's so interesting. I do really like that magnates are a thing now. I had a bit of a negative review of this DLC, The Great Wave, recently, and I think that it is deserved, but little things like this are nice bonuses. I just wish there was more that would be done with it. It's cool to see he gets 50 from holding revenue. Wow, so he's very prominent. He was already prominent because he's the ruler, of course. But if he were not the ruler, he'd be very prominent because of his massive riches from the opium over in India. Cool. It's cool to have like an opium king like that. I don't know. It's interesting. Just I hope that they do more with those mechanics later in the future on future DLCs. I would love to see that. What are we importing here? Just grain. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They're importing food, importing fabric. Gotta eat, gotta be clothed. They are, of course, defaulting. Yeah, that makes sense. They're gonna bankrupt any second then. 1 million GDP. Yeah, it just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? The SOL continues to climb, though. We are slowly digging out of this hole, I guess. Persia's having a hell of a game. I guess this is because... I mean, I don't really know how much the great game content affects Persia's playthrough, but there's no Britain to, like, pressure them. So they're just having a hell of a game here. Now, Russia should be pressuring them, but maybe they're just getting along with Russia. It could be that they're just friends. Yeah, they seem to just be getting along with Russia as friends. So, good for them, I guess. Yeah, they're just chilling. There's a Russia-America war. What is this? Okay, America's going for Alaska. Okay, and they also want a piece of Algeria, while Russia wants investment rights in Liberia. One day, I pray that the Victoria 3 AI will just never use the investment rights war goal. Just don't use this, because they don't know how to use it, okay? They do not know how to use this. This will never happen. What are you doing? You have, it just... And if they do get this... what economic opportunity are they hoping to exploit down in Liberia? They can't even make plantation goods. The arable land has been used. There are 5 iron mines here. What are you hoping for? You know, it's... I guess maybe they want to make some ports. They want to get that merchant marine economy going. I don't know. Interesting. How's the market access out here? It looks like they don't even have infrastructure, so that's even worse for them. This is probably because as the population goes down, they lose infrastructure, but then they don't delete any buildings. So things are just getting worse and worse over here in Britain. Because, of course, population is a pretty significant source of infrastructure, right? So without the population, they no longer have that. And the buildings at the game start are meant to, you know, exist in a world where there is some infrastructure. Still not seeing any Albanian migration anywhere. Yeah, it's not happening. Looks like there's someone trying to land. Let's see what's happening here. Britain is a minor power. Netherlands, oh dude, the Netherlands are going to be taking stewardship of the Albanians. Oh my god, they're taking so much, dude. How much they're taking like 80 infamy to do this. The glorious revolution type vibes right now, like for real. I assume they'll win because Britain's like super bankrupt. I won't lie, I did not think that the British, like even, or rather that the AI could even do naval invasions in the current patch. So this is impressive. We do now have a proletarian revolt in the Greater Manchester, and we also have the rest of Ireland seceding. Again, I'm going to assume that this will succeed. But I really want to see what happens with the Netherlands. Like, are they going to take on this curse? Well, they don't have poor laws, right? So maybe they will actually be able to like deal with the Albanians. Also, no migration controls. So we could see the movement of the Albanians out of London. Although they seem to have failed their naval invasion, so rip, I guess. Well, I guess it was a hope. Yeah, the war ended. Okay, well they must have white peaced, I guess. They still have war goals on New Manchester or whatever, Greater Manchester, but I doubt they're gonna go for those. They should have been able to win that, but the AI is it's a hell of a creature on the current patch. It really is insane just how lacking in competence an AI can be. They don't know how to use the naval mechanics like at all. So yeah, we're down to 27 million. This is now like a somewhat reasonable population number. This is a lot to have in one state, to be very clear, but this is like, you know, you could work with this. Of course, you do still have 7 million unemployed. Also, full Ireland, huge under King Frank Castlerech. I don't know, hard to pronounce this stuff. Okay, but yeah. Very curious North German Federation here. They're just not making Germany under Wilhelm von Hohenzollern. I guess they'll eventually take over Bavaria, like one day. I don't know. There is a big war happening here, it looks like, though. It looks like it's over Egypt, I guess. And they're gonna... Oh, they reconquered Bulgaria. They're gonna re-liberate it, I guess. And, of course, Germans want investment rights in Egypt. This makes more sense that they would want this. This is a reasonable investment right demand to make, because Egypt does have, like, you know, goods, like it has opium that you can build potentially. So that's something, at least. That's a reasonable demand. We do have a German Empire. They did form, finally. They've united with Bavaria. Will they take Alsace-Lorraine? I don't know. Will they invade Austria? We'll see. But it is a very aesthetic border, I must say. Very nice looking. Looks like the Ottomans are defeating Egypt, probably because German help. I mean, Germany is quite the powerful land nation. And of course, this doesn't rely on any of the navy stuff. So it doesn't, like, we don't, the German AI presumably can handle assigning units to fronts. They just can't handle like navies and stuff, right? If you look at the culture map mode, I mean, it should still just be pretty normal. It's just Albanian here, but everything else is still English. Yeah, it's a relatively normal game. You know, it's funny. I kind of knew this would be mostly what would happen. I guess we see a lot of English migration overseas, right? This does make sense that the English would be escaping the horrid food prices. So we see a, like, English Texas, which is, that's certainly something. But this is mostly what I expected to happen, is that the welfare would cripple the economy, people would mass migrate out. I just thought the Albanians would migrate out, but you know, I forgot about migration controls. Yeah, it makes sense that actually they wouldn't. They're just going to be sitting there, eating all the food and starving, and the English are going to leave in response. It's interesting how you would expect there to be, like, differences perhaps in the way the other great powers play the game, because there's no Britain to police them. But because of how broken the naval mechanics are currently, this is actually a relatively normal game. I know it sounds really weird. It's a relatively normal game of Victoria 3. Britain is just having a bad game is all. And this occasionally happens even in regular Victoria 3 games where Britain just kind of fails to do much. We see like a German Empire. a French Republic, a Russia that is, like chilling. I guess the biggest thing we've seen is that Persia has an unfettered like power in the Middle East here, because no British Raj, no Britain itself to stop them. So they've kind of just been dominating here. I don't think Japan's been opened, right? Yeah, Japan is still isolated. So any great power can open Japan, but in this case, like they're bankrupt. Nice. In this case, Britain hasn't come around to open them. America hasn't come around to open them. I guess, interestingly, one consequence of this is that we won't see the Oregon Treaty. Like, we're very unlikely to see that because there's no Britain to improve relations with that controls Oregon. So that's, like, a weird thing, but they're probably just going to pull them into the power block and that'll be fine, right? They'll probably just be okay with that. We have hit 2 standard of living. Absolutely huge. Let's check for any other cultural communities here. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, they're all just chilling still in the home counties and in the Ottoman Empire. Makes sense, I guess. 2 million GDP. My goodness, that is nothing. 4 ships. Someone might come in and try to protectorate Britain at some point, because they are a minor power, but it's unlikely. It would be a lot of infamy, because they do still have 14 million people. That is, like, not nothing. You know what I mean? We do have a proletarian revolt. Looks like they probably... I don't even know what they would want. I guess they want public health care? Yep, they do want public health care. So that would maybe help the standard of living, but it'll just be even more bureaucracy cost that the British can't afford. Which, at this point, like, what's another bankruptcy, right? What would even be the problem? There does seem to be a naval invasion. Is there a... Oh, Britain is a protectorate of America. I did not notice that happening. Yeah, okay. And Russia wants... Dude, right now, Britain is the mere pawn of the Americans and the Russians who are using each other in war. Okay. So, given they're part of the American market now, is that going to kill the American price on goods? I guess not anymore, because by now there's not enough Albanians. So, it's interesting. Now that the Albanians are mostly gone, it's not a big deal. But it could have been the case that if America had done this earlier, they would have like taken in a guerrillian Albanian pops and ruined their own market, which would have been really funny. But alas, instead, it looks like Russia's going to take over. Because their only war goal is to grab that, right? So they should be able to actually pull that off. Imagine being worth only 23 infamy. This is the kind of thing you would break up with your boyfriend over. Okay, if you had a boyfriend and he was only worth 23 infamy, it's not worth it, homie. Gotta get out of there. Looks like Oregon's going to join the power block pretty soon with the Americans. I imagine they'll invite them like any minute now, because they are over the requirement for it. But sometimes the AI takes a while. They could do it, but the AI is just like, I'll wait. For no reason. I will simply wait. I kind of want to see how long I can stay here and watch. Although it looks like they now fell below the threshold, so they missed their chance. But for a bit there, they could have gotten Oregon. Surprised they don't have New Brunswick. I don't know what's taking them so long on that, but each their own, I suppose. Is Britain free? Britain did break free, so actually I thought that they would not be able to because they would just capitulate. But turns out, actually, Britain has broken free under the rule of Emperor Maxwell or Ewing. Okay. Does that mean his name is Maxwell or it could be Ewing? I don't know, I'm being stupid, but regardless, English, they have retaken the majority here in London. The Albanians are down to just 3 million, so 97% of the Albanians have passed away. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. German socialists under chairwoman Charlotte von Thunen. If this wins, it'd be so based, but there's no shot. The Germans will absolutely crush them, but wouldn't it be so cool? Wouldn't it be so amazing if they were to win? Damn, even just that handful of states makes them a great power. I guess, you know what, if we check the ledger, the score to be a great power must be so low because, remember, the score that determines how much prestige you need to be a great power is determined by taking the prestige of all of the great powers and adding it up, essentially. And like, there's some math that gets applied to it, but it's based on the prestige of the nations of the game, effectively. So when Britain is like taken out, it means that now suddenly it's a lot easier to be a great power. Although that said, these are pretty reasonable great powers. Brazil is like the occasional Brazil great power you see. So here we have like a pretty firm one. Netherlands creeping in. You don't often see a Netherlands creep into that, especially after they've been reduced to one state. Greece is also quite rare, so we could see some weird ones. Bengal not being a great power is kind of weird. They're probably bankrupt though. Yes, that is why. Okay. Makes sense. So the question becomes now, can the British with their 4.7 SOL, can they possibly recover the game? Can they possibly do anything to make this work as they continue to lose more people? Having population generally is a good thing in Victoria 3. But obviously, in this case, it was a bit too many. But now they're back to a reasonable number. Like, their market must not be too bad, right? I mean, they might have expensive grain still. You can sort by the balance. Yeah, so food is still quite expensive, although this is quite reasonable. You know, this is not too bad, but they have a lot of expensive other goods for sure. There is a proletarian revolt which wants to put wage subsidies in. I think this would pay the same amount of welfare as poor laws. Let me check. Yes, it does. So this won't really change much. But, oh, they already have wage subsidies. Okay, never mind then. They already swapped to it. So maybe poor laws does pay less then. Looks like they're going to lose, though. Britain can actually defend itself against rebellions at this point. That's crazy. There's only 60,000 people in East Anglia. But they are growing, though. They have hit a point now where they do have a birth rate. There's not a single upper-class person, though. We've created a classless society, at least in East Anglia. And I guess Yorkshire as well. 87,000 people. Oh my goodness, it's 15,000 in the Highlands. That's realistic, though. No one lives there. Everyone knows that. 29,000 in Wales. Wow. Yeah. Nobody lives anywhere anymore. They're all just peasants, I assume, too. They're just getting jobs in the arable land and... Yeah, well, never mind, actually. No, they are employed. Where are they employed? The naval administrations. The ports. Yeah, the naval fortifications. Okay. So, people are working in government buildings, which means they aren't really generating much revenue of any kind. We do actually have employed rye farms. Well, English workers. Yeah, all English workers. No Albanians to be seen in there. I'm guessing the Albanians mostly work in here? No. What are the Albanians doing? Are they still unemployed? They're still unemployed. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's basically all of them right here, the 2.19 million. And there's the other 640,000. Yeah, they do not get to have jobs. Okay. Well, sucks for them, I guess. Eventually, maybe they'll get some jobs. So, one last check. We're going to wrap this up pretty soon, by the way. One last check. Did we ever get any migrations of Albanians anywhere to where they don't normally belong? Just scrolling through here. I'm not seeing any non-traditional Albanian homelands. Yep, it's, they literally just stayed in there and all died. Okay. That's all they did. They just 997.4 million people died. Well, some of them, I guess, assimilated to English, so let's keep in mind that some of them were assimilating. So it wouldn't be that many, but still, it's a lot of them died. London is a city of corpses at this point. You can't really tell. It looks quite idyllic out here, to be honest with you. It doesn't look too bad. But, yeah, they passed away. Look at that. There's Luton, by the way. Isn't this place famous for its airport? Any Luton airport enjoyers? I kind of want to, before we wrap things up here, let me drop in as Britain. Let's nation swap here, and let's see how Britain's doing. I want to see, were you to throw me onto this nation, could I save them? The answer is probably a resounding no. Let's see. Not paying much welfare anymore. That's good. We have way too much bureaucracy. Let's see, can we fix this? Can we possibly save Britannia? Let's go and get rid of some of this bureaucracy. This is all very unnecessary. Okay, there you go. Slight deficit, but we can eat that. And then we're paying 13k in interest, which is not good. We're getting rich segregation. I think we're just going to turn that off real quick. We need to get rid of our social security, like, immediately. This cannot stand. Let's do that. Now, will this cause some movements to be upset? Probably. But I think we can live with it. Dude, what if we go to industry banned? Is that the way? I mean, obviously it isn't, but what if it was, though? What kind of taxes are we charging? Max taxes, a bunch of... Okay. Probably we just eat a bankruptcy. You know what we do is we take all this off. We have to eat a bankruptcy real quick. Take all this off. And we gotta accept that, like, we need to have a bit of an economic reset here. I guess we can build maybe some... God, what would you... Check the market. What's even good to build right now? I guess we have cheap sugar, so maybe it's grocery time. Do we have good wheat price? It's okay. I guess we're gonna farm out here, man. We're gonna farm. Unfortunately, turmoil is kind of a problem. Let's do some farming out here. We still have the Ionian Islands. They remained loyal. So through everything, when the British Empire was collapsing, we kept two loyal subjects, and that was Karna, the natives in Australia, and the Ionian Islands. Okay, dude, whatever you say. I'm paying 10k in subsidies to what? Railways and ports. Okay, well, that's fine, I guess. We need to just hope. We can reconquer Ireland, but there's probably not much of a chance that we could even win out there, for being real. Okay, there's no more, you know, wage subsidies. That's excellent. We're getting legal guardianship because we need to get the birth rate back up. So maybe we can replace the people we've lost if we just take away women's rights. We're down to less than 1 million unemployed. Look at that. It's like a reasonable unemployed number. Although I say that is not a reasonable unemployed number, but you take my point, I think. It's like within the bounds of understanding. I kind of want to do the industry band plan. So I'm going to rig it in favor of the party that has the devout in it. I'm going to throw the devout guy into leadership. And are there any other Luddites? There is a Luddite like farmer guy, so we'll take him too. And yeah, let's see if we can get industry banned. Maybe we just turn Britain into an idyllic farming society. Radicalism is declining. You know, my wise governorship here is doing well, I guess. Oh, the Ottomans want something? They want to transfer Iranians? I will let you have that. You can have it. I know they were our loyal subject for so long. It is what it is. Gotta let them go eventually. And nationalism. We gotta unite the British Isles, man. Is this... he's like 867 posting. We need a king of all of Britannia. We need a Brett Walda. He's Alfred posting. There's the rebellion, but there's industry banned. Huge. Assassination attempt on the Emperor. Okay, they tried to kill him, but they failed. Let's raise the army. What little of it we do have. I'm sure they can win, bro. They only have one unit in this revolt. What could possibly go wrong? Here's where, like, Russia or something joins the war. Like, some crazy great power gets involved. Now that we have industry banned, it's time to just, like, make food. We're just gonna make food, man. We're gonna make food. We're gonna export it everywhere. We're gonna be great. It's gonna be the greatest economy maybe ever. We just got socialism. Oh shit. Is it time for communist farming? Is it like the ultimate utopia? We do have a flagship, by the way. Check it out. We have this one cruiser, the HMS Venus. She is our flagship. She's burning though. This is perhaps very representative of the current situation in the British Isles here. I love this. I didn't know they had this. This is actually really cool. You know what? DLC 10 out of 10 now. I know I gave it a 6 out of 10 in the review. This is 10 out of 10. Yep. Huge. So the radical count should go down. Oppressor and oppressed. That means we're going to get some radicals again. But this is actually like a manageable number of radicals. Although we still have turmoil in the capital, which is unfortunate. But we're going to bankrupt soon. Then we will have maybe a budget we can work with. And I think we might actually be able to make something out of this. It's possible that we can make something of this. If we do a food company, right? The food company gives birth rate. So maybe we just get rid of the Hudson's Bay Company. Sorry, you're not very good. Get out of here. We need a food company. We need to get the birth rate back up. It's time to repopulate the British Isles. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to subsidize the groceries in East Anglia. So the population here is so low that, like, nobody can work here. But I'm going to set a migration decree, if I can. The UI is kind of in the way. Set a migration decree here. Let's also maybe, like, put a manufacturing decree. Sure. Put a manufacturing decree here, so we can try to get, like, a hyper profitable food industry. And that should give us our birth rate modifier once they get the prosperity up. We can now bankrupt. Very good. There you go. Bankrupt myself. And now, put the taxes up. Let's see if we can actually have a budget. It's not looking good, homies. We have 12k in subsidies. That's probably... I guess it must be the railways. Well, you know what? I think we'll have to just accept that we will not be able to subsidize the railways or the ports. There you go. Look at that. Saved. We have a budget, folks. We have a budget. we can actually play the game. My goodness. Let's make some rye farms out here. Don't use tools. We should go through and do our production methods, by the way. So let's keep in mind that we are like a destitute economy. So we can't really use much. We can use sweeteners. We don't have dye. I guess we do have dyes, actually. It must be from Guyana or something. We don't really have any tools, so we have to keep things pretty simple here. We don't have steel, I don't think. Nor iron. Well, actually, we do have some iron somewhere. We can do wrought iron tools. Yeah, because we can do, like, yeah, okay. We can do these and then these. Cool. Now, we are missing iron, but hopefully they'll start employing because they'll see profits. But there's just like nobody here. There's no people. But I think that we can work it out. Can I get healthcare? We have charity hospitals. I'd like to get public healthcare instead, but it's probably fine. I guess we can go state religion. I mean, this just makes everyone happy, so let's do that. This will, like, give us some authority, I suppose. We need more wheat, we need more... We just need everything. There's no population here, though. Nobody lives here. That's a problem. That's a big problem. But we should see some people migrate in, hopefully, because we have migration attraction now. They should come in from London, hopefully. No infrastructure. Right. Hold on. That would be a problem. Yeah. Okay. Turn that off. And let's... maybe that's what we need. Subsidize this too. Okay, okay. So in Victoria 3, usually anything is salvageable. Like, usually you can make things work. And I'm sure that we could make this work, to be honest. Not sure that I want to, though. Not sure that I want to. There is a communist secession. And this is interesting, because it is just the home counties. So it would just be like the independent communist state of Anglo-Albania. I don't know what it would be, but could do like a one... That's an interesting idea. Wait a minute. Do we want to like swap and play as them? Wouldn't that be kind of lit, actually? If we try to do the communist secession? I'm going to try that. We're gonna give that a shot. So I'm going to do... I can't disband units anymore, fuck. I was going to say, let me disband all my units, but I can't do that because they're revolting. What I'll do real quick then, let's pass Council Republic to make them not revolt, just for a second. And then I will disband all my units and then cancel this. There we go. So disband everyone. I want to give myself the best possible chance of, actually being able to fight. Disband everybody. That also means the budget's better, I guess. And then, let's cancel this so that they come back. And let's try to... Hopefully they do the same thing. They do a secession in the home counties. I want to try playing as the Anglo-Albanian city of London. Wouldn't that be kind of funny? Here it is. There's a secession. So I'm going to... can I not swap? Can I not swap sides? I mean, I guess I can just use the menu to do it, but... Normally there's like a swap sides button here, isn't there? I guess, yeah, let's make this simple. I'm going to just back down. And then I'm going to press escape and just, just gonna switch countries like this. This way we can just get right into it. So let's see what laws we ended up with. This is the home counties. Okay, it's got a cool little flag. Council Republic, cooperative ownership, makes sense. State atheism, okay. Charity hospitals, kind of weird. Factory councils, yeah. Collectivized agriculture. Well, do we still have a bunch of radicals? Looks like we do not. We did clear the radicals by doing this. So, now begins the process of building up this little city-state. I don't know how long I'm going to try to do this, because it's not exactly, I don't know, it's not exactly easy, but we can get rid of a lot of this administration for sure. We don't need all this. Yeah, we probably don't need all these railways either. Unfortunately, we have a lot of foreign ownership stuff, but because we're communists, we can just, actually, why do it this way? We can go into the building registry, we can just nationalize everything. So all, no compensation, huge. This will make some radicals, but I mean, it won't be too bad. We can probably get rid of some of these railways and ports. We just don't really need this much infrastructure. So we have, I can't see there, 250, we have plenty of infrastructure. So let's just get rid of, like, most of these ports and railways and stuff. There we are. The trade centers we can keep around, I guess. We've got all this farmland. We're going to want to keep that for sure, because we need to feed our people. In fact, we're probably going to build more of it. And, yeah. Make a company. Ooh, a company. Right. Let's do this rye company, and then we can pair it with a grocery company once we make some groceries. So let's do that. Now, it's going to take a while to build anything here, but, yeah, we're just chilling, I guess. The storm approaches. Brother, I'm already socialist. No need to worry about that, pal. Look at that, actually making clothes. Isn't that crazy? It's an economy. Not much of one, but it is one. I guess we can actually fix the budget a bit. Look at that. It kind of just made everything worse, though. Sometimes taxes are weird in this game. Because they can crush consumption, and then the consumption means that you don't get to sell as many things, and then you're not making money anymore. Like, we are making some money on government dividends, right? Or, no, this part is going to the investment pool, isn't it? Yeah, I think because, yeah, it just goes right to the investment pool. Okay. How's trade? I mean, I guess we're probably just, like, importing stuff, right? Yeah, we're just importing various things. Okay. Could we go isolationist? Do we have... Is that... That is doable. Well, no, it's only doable because of, we have, like, bonuses from past checkpoints that are faking it, yeah. I say, we could... If we do isolationist, imagine we have, like, a true, just, like, local anarchist economy type of thing. That'd be something. What's this? Investment rights from Belgium. Yes. I don't... Sure. Give me privileges. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. We're gonna be working with the socialists of Belgium to help us out. It's interesting. What will they even build in my country? If anything. They might not really build anything, to be honest. Well, either way, I'm kind of out of steam for this meme of a run. We have now only 1.5 million Albanians. They're all gone at this point, let's be real here. It was a funny idea, but the impact of having 1 billion people in Victoria 3 is very different than EU5. Let me tell you this. If you want to see a very different sort of billion Albanian type playthrough, check out Lemon Cake's video where he also put 1 billion Albanians in London, but it was in EU5. Some interesting stuff happened there, but very different than this. We saw some interesting economics, shall we say, over there, and a lot of just weird migration. So in that game, like, I think he had, like, the billion Albanians were like a monolith who migrated to wherever they wanted to go. So it'd be like London to Harrow, just like 1 billion people migrating, and then they migrate back, and they migrate back and forth over and over again. It was kind of crazy. In Victoria 3, they just all starve. That's all that happens to them. They just starve to death and become English, and then take welfare and die. That's all that they do. With that, I guess, I don't know, Ledger. Here, look at that. Top great powers. Germany's doing fine, I guess. The game has been so normal. It's so weird. Just such a normal game. It's just that Britain fell apart. It's just a normal game where Britain falls apart. It's literally all it is. But yeah, big Persia. Woohoo, cool. With that, I say peace out and thank you for your time.